water, just feel free to grab it whenever you'd like. Try to keep it casual. All right, I haven't properly introduced myself. I'm Ben's brother. I'm gonna try to schedule stuff going forward. I'm gonna talk. I've got a few other people that I've asked to talk, and then I'd like to open it up to anybody else that wants to say something about Ben or tell a story. Everyone would love to hear it at this point. So I'm gonna tell a story. A little bit of background. My brother and I were about 2.5 years apart, so we were fairly close. And I tried to make things competitive as I grew up with him, and he was good at sports, and I tried to be good at those same sports. And the only thing that really differentiated us was he was good at computers and I was good at hockey. So. And he would fix all my computer stuff when I needed it, and he still did till recently. When Ben joined cross country high school, he did not do it his full high school career, but he did it when I was coming into high school as well, and that was a good opportunity for me to join the team as well and see if I could best him at something after not doing it my entire career growing up. Unfortunately, he was still quite a bit better than me, so I was probably a minute or two behind him in the 5K, but at the end of both of our high school careers, my PR was almost right on top of his, so I at least equaled him, but was never able to best him in that. Ben went to college shortly after. We ran cross country together, and fast forward a little bit more, and it was my turn to go to college, and I did the only logical thing I could and go to the same college that Ben went to. It worked out exceptionally well, mostly because the first day of school, he brought me a case of Natural Light to drink. And from there on, he was the go-to person for me to get beer whenever I needed in the dorms. About a month into school, it was about about 14 years to the day, the eve before my dad's birthday, we needed to get him a birthday present. So we met after school on a Friday, and we were riding bikes back to his apartment when I lived up in the dorms. So naturally, it had to be a race in my eyes. I had to beat him at something, whether he thought so or not. And so we were riding back, we're picking up speed, I'm going as quick as I can, and I'm in the lead finally. He probably still doesn't know it's a race. But so we're coming up to a pretty busy street where we got to cross to his apartment, and I got to cross first. That's the only way I'm going to win. So I look, I see an opening, and he looks and sees the same opening and slows down while I'm speeding up. And I get on a driveway and into the street, and right away my front tire hits the front fender of an oncoming car, and my bike stops. It totals my bike, and I flip over the car. And there's two things in my mind at that point. First one is I hope the car didn't see me and would just keep driving. The second was I hope my brother stopped so he wouldn't beat me back to his apartment. But needless to say, he did stop. we had a few good words on the way home. He called me some names that I deserved at that point, but he stayed with me the entire time, and we were both a little in shock after the accident, but it was my fault, so I wrote the law. But I almost won that day, so. In thinking about what I was going to talk about, I always used to think that everything we did was trying to be competitive, but looking back at the way he treated our engagements, our activities that we did, he never treated it as he was trying to beat me. He always treated it as he was trying to help me learn, to get better. And that is what I'm going to always take away from his life. He was competitive, but not at the expense of other people. He wanted everyone to feel as loved as he felt with his family growing up, so he made me a better person for it. So I want everyone else to remember Ben for maybe short times, maybe longer times, but remember Ben for his demeanor, his humor, which is undeniable. Everyone got a laugh at Alpha Ben at some point, whether it's at his expense or somebody else's. But he really knew how to reach people in that way, and I hope everyone remembers him and will miss him as much as me. Tina.
My name is Tina, and I am Ben's friend from college. And Ben and I met, seems like it was the first week of college, but I guess it was the second month. But I don't think we ever would have met, but I had a beautiful roommate, and he found her and he followed her home back, and they were going to study together, and that's how I met him. And then so Kelly and I and Ben and our friend Becky, we all became friends because of that. He was just so much fun, like nobody I'd ever met before. He was just up for anything. He has such enthusiasm for everything. From like the songs he liked, and flash mobs, and nacho cheese, and he was just so amazing. He did have the best laugh ever, and if you could make him laugh, that was just the best thing. And one time I made him laugh so hard he cried, and oh my gosh, that was the best thing in the world for me. Ben lived with my boyfriend and I after college for a while, so we got to spend all that time together, and we were all three pretty good friends. And then after that, he moved out on his own, but we still kept in touch, and even when he moved out here, we kept in touch. He was just so kind and so giving. I have a daughter named Taylor and a little guy named Ben. And when he was born, we had such a hard time trying to find a name for him. And then the name Ben came into our mind. And we couldn't think of a better name for this perfect little guy, that he would grow up and be caring and so giving and so fun and so humorous. And we asked Ben if that was okay, and he said of course, and he made the joke that when they grew up, somebody would say, "Hey, Ben, you want to come play ball?" And then Ben would say, "Sure." And then they would say, "No, dummy, Ben Brink." It was just funny to me. And he was just so amazing. I know everybody knows how amazing he was. And I'm so lucky that I got so many years to make all the memories that we have. And I know everybody that knew him is so lucky to have gotten to have met him. We just love him so much, and I know he'll be missed by everybody.
Next up, I'm going to have Kurt. Kurt was his boss and friend for a long time, so.
So I've known Chips as we know him. We're the probably the only two here who I've only known him as Chips for 12 years. I think sometimes I forgot his name was Ben. But he was one of our, we had a small startup. Lucky for him, we were so small and so broke, we didn't really care about your education or how well you did, as long as you worked for cheap. So it worked out great. So he ate chips a lot. That's really where the nickname came from. And he would sit at his desk and he'd stacks of Mountain Dew and bags of chips. And that name forever, including everyone who's reached out to us, everyone he worked with back then, they're like, what happened to Chips? That's the last year I've tried to call him Ben more and more. It still weirds me out to say it, so forgive me whichever name I use. But competitive was, I love that word comes up, because that's really how I know him and me and how we're together. So I need to set something straight. I learned brew and taught it to him. His job was to take the really bad code I made and turn it into a good product. And that is what he did, which, trust me, he reminds me, and always did, to the point of, we were at a party once and we had Festivus. Yes, for the Seinfeld people, we really did have. We had the poll and the airing of grievances. And he's with all my high school friends. This was a high school party. First time we met all of these. And he looked me in the eye for airing of grievances, and he said, "You're the laziest boss ever." And we were friends ever since. And that was what we brought together. I realize people are together because they're similar or different, but we were similar. We would fight. I mean, he programmed BASIC in middle school. I programmed assembly. He likes Android. He was embarrassed of me bringing my Apple Watch to Santa Barbara. I was here a week and a half ago, and that's the one thing he said as soon as he saw me. He's like, "You're not going to wear that watch around my town," and can't stop me. But that's see, look, my iPhone's not going to work now, and then he's laughing somewhere. But anyway, so he was. All the things we went through, it's funny because the way it worked is when he went through his jobs after our company, which I got fired from before him, our own company, when we sold it, so he won that one as well. But when he moved out here, actually, in a way, we saw him. I saw him more. It started with his first year out here. He called me up one day. They'll probably texted me because he never called. And he's like, "I don't want to give up all my vacation. Where do you want to go?" I'm like, "I'm married with kids. I don't usually just go on vacation with guys, but I'm like, let's go to Monaco." I was like, "All right." We thought about it for a while. We didn't know what to do there, so we went to Costa Rica for a week together. And we whitewater rafted. We attempted surfing. I don't know if he learned it out here, but we were equally terrible on that out there. We went ziplining. We went out to the bars on the beach every night and knew everyone in that town by the time we left. And ever since then, every year, we've gone on vacation. And we went on boat trips, and to the point where a week ago I was out here, and Sarah was my wife, talking to a friend, And where's Kurt? Is he on a business trip or on a mancation with chips? It was just assumed if I was gone, we might be somewhere. Whenever we would go out in more cities and countries, we would get in little arguments. It's what we did. From the simple to the more complex, but we would take opposing sides because we both loved that debate and respected each other enough, and it's what a miss. But more than once, everyone thought we were a couple. And he would get really upset, and I've never known if it's because he was afraid people would think he's gay or because it was me, and he didn't want people to think he'd date me. So I'll maybe never know the answer to that one. I was so fortunate that, by luck, the first time I was in Santa Barbara was a week and a half ago, and I got to see where he lived, and we snuck into every Sonos building around 2 a.m., I think I owe you guys some bananas and a bottle of water, and your keg is empty. That's, in 2 of the buildings the keg was empty, so I don't know if times are tough at Sonos. But I've been to Elsie's 3 times. I've met people that are here. I'm fortunate that I got to share his world, and I'm thankful for that. He is someone that won't be replaced.
At this point, I don't have any others scheduled, but I want to open it up to everyone else. So Diane would like to speak. So also, before we get too far into this, I want to thank everybody that helped my family put this together. Took a lot of stress off of this event for us. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Diane. Actually was Ben's boss, like, most recently. I'm going to tell a story that is more about the friendship than the boss thing. Some of you probably heard the story before, but probably not all of it. This actually took place on the night of Sarah's first day at Sonos. So I was out here for, like, bringing on my first new employee. And Ben had been in Boston the week before, and we would schedule our flights so that we'd be on the same flights a lot. So we came in late the night before, and that story, there's a story about that night too, but that's not the story. The story I want to tell is from this night, and it is something that I think is really typical of my friendship with Ben. And before you get it in any of your heads, it is not a story about drinking. And I want you to try to remember the entire time that Ben and I were both completely sober. Because of the late night, I wasn't interested in drinking, and we ended up taking, like, a meandering walk around Santa Barbara, which is something we did frequently. About, 2 or 3 miles in, what was like a leisurely walk and talk took a turn, which is to say that Ben took a turn and did that thing where he, like, goes from his slow walk to his fast walk, where he has the destination in mind, and you have to, like, chase him like he's a cheetah running away. And so I, like, chase after him, and the next thing I know, he's gone into the train station and he's on the train tracks. And I'm, like, calling to him, no, don't do that. And he's like, nah, don't worry about it. The trains don't run on the tracks at night. And I never verified that, but I followed him onto the tracks anyway. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm actually kind of a rules follower. I like rules. I like following them. So this is what makes this kind of typical of Ben, is he was always pushing me to try new things, to do crazy things, and stupid things. So it kept challenging me. And like, well, walking next to the tracks isn't really enough. Walk on the tracks. All right, hop on and off the rails. Okay, like skip between the ties. Now it's like amateur parkour. We're like hopping back and forth between the two sides of the rails, like scrabbling up and down the embankments. And like next thing I know, he's like gone down this embankment so far, like his head disappears. And I like look over the edge. I'm afraid of heights. I don't want to do that. But I kind of know what Ben did, right? Is he wanted to challenge people to do more, be different, be more, be better. So I'm like, okay, this is the challenge. The challenge is go down the hill. It'll be awesome. I can do this. So I like get myself down the hill. I don't want to hurt myself. I'm pretty proud of myself. And the next thing you know, it looks me square in the eyes, sits down on the edge of the wall, spins around, jumps down. And I like look over the edge, like, what are you doing? Was completely stunned. And next 15 minutes is like all my fear and Ben encouraging me. Like, he was looking for rational and irrational ways to convince me to take this leap. He tried flattery. He's like, you're so strong, you could totally do it. You're stronger than I am. He like walked through it one tiny step at a time. He's like, just okay, just sit on the edge. Just hang like 1 foot over the edge. Hang both feet over the edge. At this point, he like jumps up and grabs my foot. And he's like, look, see? It's not that high. I'm like, you just proved to me that it's 9-10 feet up. No! And then a police car drove by. So I'm sitting on the top of a 9-foot wall. Ben's like on the sidewalk below. And clearly not a legal place to be. Police car guy takes out his bullhorn and like yells out, like, you okay? Do you need help? Ben somehow manages to convince him that it's all okay, don't worry about it, it's fine. And but he said, like, the police officer said, well, I'll be back, and if you're still here, you'll be in trouble. And that was enough to make me take the jump. So I grabbed onto something that looked like a handheld, and I jumped. And I landed with 1 foot on and 1 foot off of a curb that I didn't see through my fear and that Ben didn't tell me about. And even with my knees bent, I couldn't recover it, and I rolled my ankle badly. But the police were coming, so we took off as fast as my hobbling could go. And once we were a couple of blocks away, Ben told me that was only the second time he'd ever done that. I was so pissed. After helping me back to my hotel, he kept texting to check on me. He offered to take me to the hospital. I declined. I've sprained an ankle before. I know what they're going to say. He's like, no, but Californian doctors are great. No, I don't really want to. I tried to change the topic. I have Diane! Like, the way that he would, like, yell people's names. No, I'll go to bed. I did make him drive me to Rite Aid the next day to get a compression wrap and some Advil, and I kind of made him drive me around town the rest of the week because I couldn't walk. Ben challenged me to be a better person, and I will miss him so much.
Thank you. Kind of a announcement. There's a Dodge Dart with its lights on. So someone has a Dodge Dart. It's on the road over here. I guess you might want to go turn your lights off. If anyone else would like to speak, come on up here. From here on out, I can come up and ask for people, but if you just want to come up, that'd be preferable way. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Frank. I worked with Ben at Sonos. I, like Diane, have a million stories I could tell that would probably get us both into trouble, but I'll try to read something. My first experience with Ben was around 4.5 years ago. I was working on my first project at Sonos and noticed that a ton of bugs I had written up were getting fixed in one lump sum. I had figured that Ben was our hotshot developer who finally had come back from some long vacation during the whole project, and it ended up being his first week, and he was just that good. Over the next 4 years, I had the pleasure of working very closely with Ben, including working on a project where it was only the two of us. He became the second half of my brain. He'd build it, I'd break it, and then he'd build it up again. His insatiable curiosity always kept a smile on his face and all the faces around him. Everything was possible to Ben, even if it seemed impossible to the rest of us. He was always learning, questioning, and challenging the rest of us to do better. Not only was he a brilliant developer, but he was also a phenomenal friend. I could probably talk for hours about all the hijinks that I've gotten into with Ben. I have a lifetime of memories involving quadcopters, high-powered lasers, failing to teach Google Glass to do his bidding, and our much-coveted Domino's cheesy bread, which we would always text about back and forth to each other whenever we ate it in shame. We're all so incredibly lucky to have had Ben in our lives, and I don't think a day will go by where I'm not reminded of him somehow. His memory will live on in his code, his unabashed love of bad music, in the overconsumption of energy drinks, in all foods that are produced with MSG, and most importantly in all of us, the people that loved him. Ben, you will be so incredibly missed, but thank you so much for all the time that you gave us.
Hello, my name is Joe Octor, and I met Ben at Elsie's. We discovered that we were both software engineers, so we talked about our very different companies and technology things in general. And at some point, Ben realized that I do not use a smartphone. I have a 10-year-old pay-as-you-go brick phone that serves me just fine. I do have an iPod Touch for internet access and that sort of thing, but Ben just couldn't understand how a guy with a high-tech career could be satisfied with a low-tech phone. It became a running joke between us. Anytime I'd have to ask for a Wi-Fi password at a bar or a restaurant, okay, a bar, Ben would glare at me or just shake his head or sometimes bust out with, "Damn it, Joe, when are you going to get a real phone?" It was a cheap source of quick laughs between friends. A few days ago, I was sitting in Elsie's, and I was recounting my latest irritation with Cox Cable. And I said, boy, if some phone company would just create a data plan that covered what I need for a reasonable price, I'd jump on that in a minute and dump cable. Of course, then I'd have to tell Ben that he's been right all these years, and oh, yeah, that's when the penny dropped. When we lose someone close to us, we tend to think mostly in terms of regrets. Oh, I wish I'd done something or done something more, or we're not going to get to do this or do that. Well, those options are taken from us now. What isn't taken from us is how we choose to deal with the reality of the loss of those we love. We can try to become hard, to become impermeable, but all that does is cut us off from those who love us. Or we can face the truth of death in our lives and allow the reality of our shared loss to enrich the days we have left. Now I know that someday I'm going to break down and buy a smartphone, and I will think of Ben fondly on that day, and on every time that I can call up an Uber without having to find a Wi-Fi hotspot first. So long, Ben. You'll be missed.
A little shorter than everyone else. Thanks. Hi, I'm Sarah. I was the one Diane just mentioned. And by the way, she told me that Ben was trouble, and then came in limping the next day and said, "See." I had all this stuff written up, and now I think I should just tell stories, because what I've really realized throughout all this is what we have is our memories, and he's always going to be alive in those, and we should share them and remember them, and he will definitely be missed. So, speaking of police and whatnot, there was one day where Ben messaged me. It's a Saturday. He messaged me and he's like, "Hey, what's the traffic school that you used?" And I have a ticket that I need to do something for before next week. And so I tell him, and he's like, "I don't understand." Sorry, yeah. And he says, "Oh, I can't figure out where my ticket is." And I was like, "Do you want me to just come and help you?" And he's like, "Are you sure it's this Saturday?" And I was like, "I have nothing better to do," because I've been really cool, just so you know. So we end up doing traffic school together. Not well. He saved all the pages and searched for the questions, and I would watch the videos and remember the colors of the cars when they asked you which car turned right. Was it the red one or the blue one? And I had the answer. We spent 2.5 hours on a Saturday doing this. And then he told me I have to come with him to get a beer because he owes me. My very first time I was in Boston, he knew that I didn't know anyone and I was nervous, and so he texted me and told me to go to the Science Museum, and I was texting him pictures, and then he was like, "We should build a Tesla coil, like a big one." And for the rest of the week, he just sent me links of research that he had, and he was all ready to do it. He kind of adopted me. He was my mentor, my friend, my coworker, and so many more things. He was such a great listener, and every interaction you ever had with him was totally genuine. He cared about not only what you were saying, but who you are. And that's something I cherish, and I will always strive to be like. I have other stories that I won't tell in front of everyone, but my most recent favorite memories were of Hot Pot and a game we made up called Lint Ball. And some of you have already heard this story. But Ben came to my Airbnb, and there was this giant giraffe, and he insisted I take a picture of him with the giraffe to show how much how joyous and loving it was, and then got very mad at me because I was taking too long. Then we were sitting on the couch talking about whatever, and the couch had indents from buttons, and I found this perfectly circular lint ball. And I threw it, and it fell into one of the holes, and he was like, "That would be a great game." So we took this notebook and tore up the pieces of paper and wrote different numbers from 1 to 10, or 1 to 100, and he wrote 99, of course. And then we played lint ball for like an hour at midnight. And he was so mad that I won. And still told everyone that he did. I'm really, really going to miss him. He was such a wonderful person. Thanks for listening to me.
I'm Lexi, and I'm Ben's ex-girlfriend. It's been really hard for me to think of how I could possibly say words to describe everything I've gotten to experience with Ben. He has always been larger in life, and he fills a room with big smiles, a lot of beer, and a pretty good argument. And he is he was so much fun. I wanted to share a story that I have from a trip I took with him to Jamaica, because it sort of describes a different side of him, but still very similar to a lot of the stories that you guys are telling. We went to Jamaica to try and kind of have a getaway so we could get along, and it's really easy to get along in Jamaica, and that worked out quite well for us. We found a trip that went out to see bioluminescence at night in Jamaica, and both Ben and I have a slight addiction to LED lights and glitter, and this seemed perfect because bioluminescence is kind of like both of those things. So we got to take a boat out, and Ben convinced somebody to just take us out in the boat with a lot of beer into the bioluminescence, and we got to swim around and race around and see who won in the bioluminescence, and in the moonlight, and it was gorgeous, and it was one of the fondest memories I have. And when we got back, I guess he started making plans to create this lamp, and I also like steampunk a lot, and so he started collecting cogs and wires and gears and all kinds of things, and molding them together into this sort of steampunk cog lamp thing that doesn't exactly look like a lamp, but it does have a lot of cool properties. Has LED lights in it, and he put some sort of a mixer on it so that the LED lights come out like lightning, and then there's a red light, and he spent so much thought into this. He bent the metal like DNA coils, and probably went 10 times over before he figured out exactly how he wanted it to be. And then for the light, he made a giant beaker, and he presented this lamp to me for my birthday, and it looked like some cog thing with a beaker full of water, and I wasn't quite sure what it was. And so he turns it on, and there's lightning and red lights, and I'm still trying to figure out what the beaker is all about, because that's not a component you see in lamps usually. So he then proceeded to text me the story behind what was in the beaker, and I was hoping I could find the text, because the way he described it was Ben perfectly, like how he got this whole idea in the first place, and he was much more witty than I, so I couldn't find it, so I'll try and explain. But he had kept the shorts he was wearing the night that we went swimming in the bioluminescence, and he tried to rehydrate them when we got home, so that the little diatoms in the water, which he was figuring are kind of like brine shrimp, and so then could dehydrate and be rehydrated, would then bioluminesce once we got back to Santa Barbara, and we're just in a sort of a suspended animation during the interim. So he went ahead and tried to rehydrate his shorts, and then collect diatoms from them, and then put them in a beaker that he had go on top of his steampunk lamp, and recreate the whole experience of Jamaica. The diatoms didn't live, so he wouldn't be defeated by that ever. So he called around, looked online, and looked everywhere to find any kind of diatom dealer, and and I I guess there are some. So he found one, he became friends with her, and he bought diatoms, and we had to go through three flasks, I think, before he figured out the right temperature and environment to keep them in, and was still working with me on exactly how to create a perfect diatom environment for the lamp up until a little bit ago. So I just wanted to share that because I think it sort of highlights how caring he is and how creative he is and was and always will be to me and probably to everybody here. And I have never met anybody that came up with such personal creativity to bring into life. There's never ever a dull moment, and it was just a really special memory I wanted you guys to hear. So I will miss him very much, and I know what you guys will too. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Roy, and I'm a coworker of Ben's. I just wanted to share a few words about him. I thought a lot about what to say. I've got so many memories of Ben, everything from closing out Dante's in Cambridge to, listening to him rave on and on about Ingress, which was an obsession of his for quite a while. But I spent most of my time with Ben at work, and I guess that's where I'll think of him and miss him most. I'll miss our intense technical discussions, which I know Paul Sterngold characterized at least once as screaming arguments. But he just had so much passion and fire and intelligence, and the arguments would end when one or the other of us would come up with a solution we were both satisfied with. They'd always be so much better than what we could have come up with on our own. And so goodbye, Ben. I'll miss you.
Hello. I think he mentioned Ingress, which kind of leads into me. So Ben was fascinating, and I didn't know him very well. I played Ingress. I was on the opposite team. So every person here has touched upon how Ben was competitive, how he could be aggressive. He loved the color blue, we know. I met him one day at Elsie's, and he was simply fascinating. We shared a love, hate of Apple products, because we're both Android people. But through this game, which is like a GPS capture the flag. Anyways, there's two teams, and the game can be very competitive, and Ben was very competitive. So I live in Carpinteria, and him and his side of the team used to come bomb my town. And he thought I was out of town, so they planned this big coup, brought their whole team, and tried to bomb my town, and I was there. So I got in my car, and I went back to go take my stuff back, or our towns, and he messaged me immediately, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I thought you were on vacation." He goes, "I thought you were out of town." And I said, "No, I work out of town, but no, I'm here." We spent the whole next hour. I don't know if he was still bombing my town or not, because we were talking. I mean, we had fascinating conversations, and even though I didn't know him as well as most of you, we talked a lot online. And we had conversations from anything from, new games that were coming out. There was a new game coming out called Father.io, which was going to be the same game, but with like little things on your phones that were like guns. So we talked about how we were going to bomb each other and all the shenanigans that we were going to pull. There's another person here today that we like to pull shenanigans on Ben, and because there was this thing called a portal right by his work. So we would pull these shenanigans on his portal, and he would message us and just go, "Yeah, ha, ha, you guys are so funny." But he really, truly was a fascinating person, and I wanted to come here today because I knew you guys would have amazing stories, and that I could get a little bit more of a glimpse into his life and the kind of person he was. And I know he talked about his brother a lot, and so I'm really happy to have come and met a few members of his family. The one thing I can say is cherish your memories and know that he's probably in a better place. He can play all the games, he can win all the races, and I'm sure he'll be cheering you all on to each and every endeavor and all the adventures that you'll have in your life. So take this time, and next time you're on vacation, have a beer for Ben and salute him and wish him well, because I surely will. So thank you for letting me be here.
Hi everyone. I went to school with Ben. Lived with him for a few years too. At first, he was just this weird, white guy with funky hair. One day it was blue, and then it was pink, and then he would bleach it so it was pink and blonde everywhere. Many memories, many fond memories of Ben. I'd like to share one though. Involved us building snowmen. It was about midnight or just past midnight when we just got home from the labs. We were in the same program. We spent a lot of time in the lab together. We came home, had a beer, and just had this crazy idea to build a snowman. It had just snowed and it was ideal conditions, according to Ben. And I never built a snowman before, so he was like, do it, why not? Alright, sure. What should we build? Right away, he thought about building a snowman sitting in front of a table, programming with a computer in front of it. Dude, that was so lame, but I went along with it. Somewhere along the way, through, after a few beers and, whatever, we ended up building two. They were about this high each. A guy and a gal, snowman, and they were fornicating. Anatomically correct, down to the facial expressions. It was the best experience ever, in the snow for me anyway. It was so weird. It was. We didn't have enough snow in the front lawn, so we stole snow from the neighbors. Didn't have enough either, so we actually crossed the street over to the park and hauled snow back to our front lawn to build this. It was so big that we had to build ramps to roll the middle sections up. It took us about 4 hours, and during this time we noticed that cops were driving by slowly, and we also noticed that after a while they weren't the same cars, they weren't the same patrol cars. And we're like, and I'm a foreigner, so I'm like, dude, I don't get in trouble, holy shit. Like, can we stop, please? We went on, we finished it, and, finally a patrol car stopped. Officer got down, came up to us, and we were like, and he was, I appreciate your creativity, but you're gonna have to knock this down before the morning. And this was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and we were like, okay, sure, no problem. We took pictures, and I'm desperately trying to get those pictures, and I'm trying to find them to post on Facebook. So, get on my case if you don't see them. I guess my point is, Ben had this ability to turn mundane experiences into more meaningful, into more exciting, more memorable experiences. And that's what I'll miss about Ben. Thanks.
I'm John, and I have the honor of running Sonos, and it is an honor because of people like Ben. Ben was never shy with his opinions, as you know. They weren't always right, but he was always willing to defend them, and I always loved that about him. he taught me a whole bunch about Android. I could either ask him or Nick, and he was a lot nicer to give advice to than Nick always made me feel like a fool. Ben never did. Ben is a wonderful soul, and I really mean that. I know we can't fill the hole his not being here leaves for his family and for all of us, but look around. I don't think I ever had an interaction with Ben that he didn't have a smile and a positive attitude. So, he's made my life better in, so many small ways. Monday mornings when he would just have a smile on his face. To everyone around here, you can see how deeply he's touched everyone. So he's still here. He's just, he's in a different form. He's in all of us, and cherish that. I do. I miss him, of course, and I'm sure glad I got to know him for the short time I did. Thanks, Ben.
Hi, I'm Simone. I'm Ben's neighbor upstairs. We moved in 2 weeks apart almost 5 years ago, and he reminded me so much of my brother, just so mechanically and electronically gifted and always wanting to help, and we kind of had that funny banter about, brother and sister upstairs and downstairs, because I had been here since college, and he was new to town, and I would crawl out my passenger door when I had to park funny in our driveway and leave my headlights on because I didn't get the helpful dinging reminder when you climb out your passenger door, apparently. And he's the guy who had the charger to hook up my battery and would do it for me and just made it look so easy. And I was just so thankful to have someone like that there and someone you could count on in a way. And, I guess one of the things I'll miss the most is picking up his mail when he's gone and, knowing he was gone before he even told me, just because, you see someone every day and it's just routine and, your dog, my dog is, barking at you, whatever. Just those things, and he really is so adventurous, and my favorite trail now, it was a really wet, rainy December, and so all the waterfalls in town, of course, had to be full, and I'd always heard of Tangerine Falls off of Cold Springs, and he'd never been there before, and so I busted out my hiking guide, and we found got the trail, and we had a plan, and we're sort of setting out on this adventure, and it was right after fires too, so we hiked the wrong direction. We missed the 2 rocks that you're supposed to turn off at, and we keep going, and there's a water tunnel from turn of the century, and so we climb up to this ridge, and we're okay, well, this isn't right. Cool view. And he thought that I was going to give up, that I was going to over, because we'd hiked all the way up to this mountain, and there's no waterfall in sight, and we have no idea where we are. And, of course, he was wrong. I was game. And we found the right spot, and, we hiked up this random thing, and the waterfall was stunning. It was so full, as full as I've ever seen it. And it was just one of those moments where you're just thankful for the company and the view, and I maybe never would have gone up that trail, and I take everyone there, that's just, it's my favorite spot, and I'll never forget the day that Ben and I, found it, and I'm really good at missing him around the house, and that kind of a thing, so, thank you.
All right, I want to again talk about people that helped me put this together. Sarah was big. She connected me with a lot of people at Sonos that did a lot for us here. The audio visual, which we will be putting online in the next few days for anyone that couldn't make it or wants to see part of it again, likely to be a YouTube or something like that. Thank Margarita for the food. I've only gotten a little bit of it, but it's excellent. So as you guys are leaving, please eat the food. My family can't take it anywhere, so please take the food with you. the Twizzlers on a table, people are probably wondering what they were. They are a food that my brother loved growing up. He would always try to get it if my parents would let him. So now every time we went back home, we always had a big bag of Twizzlers, more than we could possibly eat, but we thought it was fitting to have a lot of Twizzlers here for people to enjoy with us here. So please, anything that's left on the tables is going to go to waste. So I would like everyone to take some Twizzlers, take a centerpiece with you guys to remember it with. Remember to stay with. So again, thank you so much for everybody coming out. It was good to get a few smiles and laughs today. And I hope to get more when we continue to Ben's favorite place in Elsie's. So I hope everyone can join us. We will have a tab running, so please indulge yourself in Ben's favorite beer, indulge yourself in your favorite beer. But have fun, let's tell more stories. Let's remember Ben. Thank you.